They called me a nobody with their mouths full of steak I paid for. I'm Lena, I'm 38, and my family ghosted me for 5 years, until they needed someone to foot the bill for my sister's promotion dinner. They smiled, toasted, laughed like I didn't exist. Then my father raised his glass and said, "To those who serve with honor and those who just serve their egos." Even my mother looked away, but the room froze when a man in full uniform walked in. He didn't glance at them. He came straight to me. "General Strickland, ma'am, welcome back. So much for being a nobody. Ever been erased by your own blood? Tell me below and buckle up. This story is just getting started." When I came home that fall, it wasn't banners or warm embraces. It was me, Lena Strickland, limping up the driveway with 2 duffel bags and a chest full of silence. No one knew where I'd been. No one had asked. Dad decided to throw a small Veterans Day potluck, inviting his old unit buddies and neighbors who'd worn a uniform decades ago. Melody, my sister, stood radiant in her freshly pressed National Guard blues, only 4 years in, and they acted like she'd won the war. I was there as a formality, no name tag, no seat. Aunt Rachel pointed to a chair by the water jug. "Sweetie, that's for Lieutenant Strickland." "Mine, sliding over there?" I sat next to the deviled eggs. Behind me, a wall full of photos, Dad in Vietnam, Grandpa in World War II, Melody's graduation. No sign of me. "Where's the picture of me in uniform?" I asked Mom. She didn't even look up. "It was getting old. Thought we'd use something more recent." Later, during small talk, someone asked what I was doing now. Melody chimed in first. "She used to be some kind of consultant, probably on retirement now." No one laughed cruelly. That was the worst part. It was casual, like my legacy didn't matter, like I didn't matter. I slipped away to refill my water when a retired colonel stopped me. "I remember your name, Lange Trade Directive. Hell of a plan." I smiled tight. It had too many pages. "Maybe, but it saved lives." He nodded once, respectful, and kept walking. One man remembered in a room full of forced forgetfulness. That flicker of recognition felt like oxygen. The morning after the potluck, I wandered into the living room, still sore from the folding chair. Dad's medals gleamed inside the old cabinet, right beside Melody's polished graduation plaque. I wasn't expecting to find my photo, but my eyes still searched. Old habits. There was an empty space, not quite blank, but dust-shadowed, like something had been removed. I opened the drawer below. My West Point commissioning frame was there, but the photo was gone. In its place, the cardboard stock image it came with. I asked Mom later, "When did you take my picture out?" She didn't flinch. "I was rearranging. That wall needed air." No one notices those things. No one noticing is kind of the whole point. I said. That night we had dinner. Melody buzzed with news. Promotion ceremony confirmed. Private dining room near base. They even hang your photo for the week if you're being honored. Mom clapped. "Sounds lovely, Lena. Wear something simple, okay? Nothing too attention-grabbing." I nodded. I'd once briefed senior command in body armor, but apparently, my gray blouse was too loud for family dinner. Later, folding laundry in the guest room, I got a message. No name, just, "They're digging into Lange Tra, old files. Your name's in them, be careful." It was the mission that ended my career, the one I took the fall for. I walked into the living room again, found that empty frame still sitting there, still blank. I ran my finger around the border where my photo used to be. They hadn't thrown it out. That would have been too direct. They'd shelved me like a decoration that no longer matched the room. At Melody's ceremony, I wore a black dress and a long wool coat. Understated, controlled, trained posture. The officer at check-in didn't recognize me. "And you're a guest of?" Before I could answer, Melody slid in, smiling. "She's family, used to be admin or something. She's just here for me." She gave me a side hug, light as a mosquito landing. I didn't flinch. I was trained not to. I sat at the far table, no name card, no introduction, just a napkin and half-empty glass of water. Then Melody took the podium. She shone, voice confident, posture perfect, the golden child. "I want to share a story," she said. "When I was a kid, my sister once told me, 'You go ahead and try. I don't think I can keep up with you.' And that stuck with me." She laughed. The crowd chuckled politely. That was my origin line in her fairy tale, has-been sister, the stepping stone. I stared at my fork, knuckles white. I wasn't going to be the punchline. Then the doors opened. A man in dress blues stepped in, Pentagon insignia on his collar, shoulders that had seen real war. He scanned the room. Not a glance at Dad, not Melody, he walked right to me. Snapped a salute. General Strickland, ma'am, it's been far too long. You could hear a pin drop. My father's fork stopped mid-cut. Melody blinked like she'd been slapped. Barrett turned to the crowd. This woman coordinated withdrawal routes during Operation Hawthorne. Half of NATO owes her their lives. Gasps, whispers, the air shifted. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. Later, a young cadet approached me. Ma'am, are you really a general? I looked him in the eye. Once I gave the order not to fire, even when protocol said I could. There were children inside the target zone. I chose consequences over casualties. I leaned closer. You tell me, what title does that earn? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. I left that dinner without goodbyes, no hugs, no parting words. It didn't feel like triumph. It felt like an old wound finally breathing. But I knew this wasn't over, because while the spotlight shifted for a second, the truth was still buried, and someone out there was already working to bury it deeper. The next morning, I woke to a message with a subject line that punched the breath from my lungs. Lange tragic brief, urgent inquiry. It was from a military journalist. We've received a classified file implicating you in civilian casualties. Please confirm or refute. That mission, the one that ended my career, wasn't failure, it was sabotage. I had flagged false intel. I was the only one who did. When it collapsed, they needed a fall guy, a scapegoat. That was me. I called Sarah Whittam, a brilliant former analyst. She traced the leak's access point. It came from your sister's old guard-issued device, she said. Melody's. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I drove straight to her base. She didn't deny it, just looked at me, jaw clenched. I was tired, she said, tired of you always being the golden one, even when you weren't there. I looked at her, not as a rival, but as the girl I once taught to ride a bike. I know what it feels like to be erased, but I never tried to erase you. She blinked. I was wrong. I didn't need her apology, I needed the truth to survive. That night, Sarah got us into a cold server room on base. We found the audio file, General Vaughn, crystal clear, ordering a strike on civilian zones. My red flag was right. If this goes public, Sarah said, he's done. But by morning, the USB was gone. In its place, a note. You think you're the only one who remembers how war works? Stamped with the insignia of a disbanded Black Ops unit. And Sarah vanished. I called in one last favor, Barrett and Melody. She showed up at my door. I found the deletion logs. It was Vaughn. I'm not going to erase you again. We didn't hug, but for the first time, I believed her. The silence they built around me for years, we were about to shatter it. The truth came out at a military summit in Arlington. Barrett smuggled me in. Melody volunteered to go inside, wearing a wire. General Vaughn was already there, polished, smug, commanding the room like a battlefield. Then his voice rang out, projected from the AV system across the entire hall. Civilian risk noted. Acceptable. Proceed. His own words. Gasps, silence, faces turned. Vaughn paled. Security didn't shout. They escorted him out quietly, like peeling rot from the walls. Melody and we were questioned but not charged. She kept her rank. I kept my voice. The headlines followed. General Lena Strickland identified as whistleblower in Lange Tyra cover-up. But this wasn't about revenge. This was about dignity. Weeks later, I declined reinstatement. They offered me rank, title, back pay. I wanted none of it. Instead, I returned to the academy to teach cadets how to think, not just follow. Melody left the Guard. She joined an independent watchdog group investigating military corruption. We can't change the past, she said, but we can stop it from repeating. One afternoon, we visited our childhood home. On the mantel, 2 photos, her own and now mine. Our mother looked at us with a quiet kind of apology, not in words, but in placement. No ceremony, no speeches, just a photo returned to where it always belonged. That's what healing looks like, not loud, not fast, just real. And me? I teach a course called Moral Intelligence. On the last day, one cadet left a note. I used to think courage was a loud scream. Now I know it's the quiet truth when no one's listening. That's the legacy I'll leave, not the medals, but the echo of someone who refused to stay silent. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, or had to reclaim your worth when no one clapped for you, leave a comment, tell me where you're from. And most of all, Don't let anyone rewrite your truth. Subscribe for more stories that fight for the quiet ones. You're not alone.